Community voice.
Come along, my dear, the time is growing near.
I'm here with Laurie Haag here at Upper City Park, home of the Iowa Women's Music Festival. Laurie is the program director for the Women's Resource and Action Center, as well as one of the coordinators for the Women's Music Festival. Thanks for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
So, what year did the Women's Music Festival begin?
It started in 1993. It was a sort of community-based effort combined with the Women's Resource and Action Center. A volunteer committee formed, and then the Women's Center supported the committee in the work that they were doing, and that volunteer committee created the festival.
Well, it's obvious why the Women's Resource and Action Center would want a Women's Music Festival, but why a women's-only festival?
We try to focus on women's artistic expression, and whatever that may mean in a given year. So we have the sort of traditional women's music type girl with guitar type performers to all women bands, but we've also had mixed groups.
Sure.
We've also had a drag show where drag queens performed as women as part of the festival, which we kind of thought of as a different expression of women's culture.
Sure.
So we try to be as expansive with that as we can, but as long as the focus of the festival is always going to be on women's artistic expression.
But I always sort of made the assumption that there was more women's music festivals springing up over the years because there needed to be more opportunities for women to perform.
Well, that's definitely the reason they started. The very first festival, which became known as the National Women's Music Festival, that started in Champaign-Urbana at the University of Illinois campus, was started as a direct response to a folk festival that happened in town at the time called the Red Herring Festival, and it was sort of well known. It was in a local bar, and performers like Dan Fogelberg and folks like that had gotten their start there, and a local female performer, Kristen Lems, had gone and asked, why no women were ever invited to play at it, and they said because there aren't any women who are good enough. So the thing that I think is cool about the story is that even though that was 72, 74, I can't remember the exact year now, she didn't just, organize a picket and picket the Red Herring Festival. She said, I disagree, and what I'm going to do is start my own festival.
I know plenty of great women performers that can
exactly.
perform.
And
right.
she and her sister and some other women in the community started what became known as the National Women's Music Festival that year. And it's still going 30-some years later. Kristen became a friend of mine later when I was an undergraduate in Champaign, and I ended up playing music with her, and she became just a real inspiration to me about how you can make proactive change and not just reactive.
Right.
And so, she took that opportunity and created this amazing thing that's been replicated in a number of places, and that's still going. And, when I had a chance in my job at the Women's Center to do something like that, I followed her model.
So who are some of the performers that you've got coming on for this year?
This year we have, we're still working on it, but we have definitely signed Farron, who is an amazing songwriter originally from Canada. And because we're far enough along in our festival this year, because our 15th year, we wanted to sort of do something that kind of recognized those original kind of women's music roots. And women's music has sort of been a subculture. When we talk about women's music in a really specific subcultural way, that it's this particular genre that women like Farron kind of defined. And so we wanted to get somebody who represented that, and she is an amazing performer, an incredible songwriter, and one of the best people that has come out of that genre, I think. Another singer, Zoe Lewis. She's a very charming, very entertaining piano player originally from England, and lives in the United States now, and just everybody has loved her. We're thrilled to have her back.
Get her back. And the Iowa Women's Music Festival always has a great mix of local performers, or Iowa performers, I should say, with national performers. Do you have any idea who the locals are going to be this year?
Yes, I have some idea. A couple of the locals. There's a wonderful young woman named Diva Kai who has been playing around here in the last year. She's frequently seen at the piano bar downtown. Just a young singer-songwriter who I've happened to across in a few places, and just thought she would be an excellent representative. And we try to have somebody who's a high school student or college age to represent that that's part of what this is about. And we've had students from City High and West High and the university and some of the other colleges in the area. So Diva's going to fill that slot for us this year. And another performer we're really excited about having, we've actually had before as well, is BJ Fleming, who's from Ames. I think probably one of the best songwriters in the state,
yeah,
if
BJ
not
is
the
great.
Midwest.
And I think Iowa City still tries to lay claim to her as one of our own, even though she's been gone for a few years.
Definitely. The festival is a very open, family-friendly event. It takes place here in City Park, which is completely open to everyone. It's free. The deal with it being a women's music festival, because this question comes up all the time every year, somebody asks it, what's the deal with it being a women's festival? Does that mean it's anti-man? And my response is, it's not anti-male. It's pro-women. So this is the one day in the year, maybe at least in the sort of festival schedule, where we focus on women. And just because we're focusing on women doesn't mean that we're anti-male. And it doesn't seem to me like that should be counter to each other. So, it's really, because it's sort of got nothing to do with men, that we sort of are perceived with it being anti-male.
And what a better way to encourage women's musicianship than to showcase women on stage.
And we do what we can to make sure that there's a variety of voices, ages, cultural diversity, all of that, so that it's not just one woman's experience or one kind of woman's experience, but to do what we can to bring the voices of a diversity of women to the stage, so that people who sit in the audience can say, I relate to that, or if I have my little nieces with me, I'm not afraid of what they're going to hear. And that's definitely a thing that we want to make sure we have a family-friendly stage, and that people, do the right kinds of things, considering that there's families and kids there too.
And so let's talk a little bit about the character of the festival in that sense. It is a family-friendly festival. I know when I was, the last couple years that I've attended, you see a full family sitting out on a blanket. You see couples of all different walks of life, ages, backgrounds, and it's just really, it's a wonderful cross-section of the community.
I think people are really comfortable when they come here. I mean, this is a beautiful site. If you look around us, it's one of the few sites in the town that didn't get affected by the flooding this year. It's a wonderful site to have the festival, and kind of forms a natural amphitheater, and people can bring their dogs, they bring their kids. We serve food. There'll be a smattering of vendors, and I think kids just have a really good time. They can approach the stage without being brushed off.
Well, let's talk about the dates for this year.
Sure. This year, the festival, the main part of the festival, which is the part that happens here in Upper City Park, is on Saturday, September 20th. There's some other, usually goes from noon to 6, I think, because we've got a lot of really great performers this year. We're going to stretch it out a little bit and start it a little bit earlier, so I think it'll start at 11 this year. And there's a good chance that we're going to have some auxiliary events in other venues in town. The Englert is working on a concert for us that weekend. And we are also hopefully bringing in a performer whose name is Ubaka Hill, who is a drummer, world percussion drummer. And if she comes, which we have our fingers crossed she'll be coming, on Friday night she'll do a workshop in town teaching people to drum. And if we get her, she'll create the drum song orchestra on Friday night, and they'll get to perform at the festival on Saturday.
That's great. So to get all that updated information, where should we send people?
You can send them to our website, which is actually prairievoices.net.
And do you need volunteers?
Yes, we need volunteers. You can contact me at the Women's Center or send us email via our website.
Well, we'll send people your way.
Great.
And look forward to the festival.
It'll be a good one this year.
Thanks so much.
Sure, thank you.
Come along, my dear, the time is growing near. We'll have to walk down where the field is overgrown. Consumption's claimed his life. We dare not miss the sight of the train carrying Jimmy Rogers home.